Today I'm super excited to be swatching out these Gallo watercolours. Anyone who knows me knows how much I love colour, and I find it extremely difficult to limit myself to a palette of a few colours. I always want to pick them all. I always end up telling myself I can't just have one red because I need the dark red next to it and then I need the pink that kind of goes with it. It's just, I find it almost impossible to limit myself. So I set myself a challenge of going on the Gallo site, which was extremely hard because all of the colours they have are just beautiful. And I said 12 colours, do it. I'm not going to tell you how long it took me to decide because it was a process that went on over several days, eliminating, putting them back. But in the end, I did it. This here is an empty palette, so we'll fill it in once I've unwrapped the colours that I bought. But for now, let's have a look at those. So in no particular order, here they are. Like a bunch of candies. Look at this. So here they come in order. So the first one I picked was this antique gold. I always need a yellow in a colour palette, and this one really appealed to me because it wasn't too bright and it seemed fairly muted. When it came, I could see that on this swatching card here it's got some sparkles, although there don't appear to be any on the back. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when I paint it out. I'm going to take off this plastic wrapping as I go along because the light from the window is reflecting on it. So the packaging is so lovely. It's just wrapped up, and here you can see it says 335 Series 3 Gallo PY43 metallic. I can't read that under the thing. Gum Arabic. Let's see what it says on the back. Antique Gold Series 3 335 metallic pigment PY43. Okay, so it is metallic, even though on here it doesn't appear. But that will be fun, because if you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that I like a bit of metallic paint. The next one is, what colour is this? This is Victoria Green, a really nice grassy kind of green, fresh green. It actually says on the Gallo website that these are choking hazards, and I can imagine why they put that, because you just really do want to pick it up and eat it. The next one I picked was this absolutely beautiful colour. I just didn't think that I could possibly have a palette that didn't have this colour in it. Malachite Hue. It's Series 3 322 Amazonite PG18 PW4 PY3. Look at that. Beautiful. The next one, again, I just didn't feel I couldn't possibly, I just couldn't do without this one. This is Copper Blue, Series 2, number 231, pigment PW4, PG7, PB15.3, PY3. Quite a lot in there. Wow. See, those four together, just alone, are just spectacular. I absolutely love them. I really always love colours that are close to each other. So these really do it for me. This next one is a neutral colour. It's called Tourmaline. It's Series 3 318, Tourmaline Genuine, the pigment. It's a kind of grey, it looks like a grey-green, so for me it fits in really well with these. But it'll be interesting to see how it comes out. And the last one on this little line is a Payne's Grey, which I think fits in perfectly. Again, it just kind of completes that line, ends up as a nice darker shade. It's got the bluey tint to it, so it fits in perfectly with these greens. The Payne's Grey is Series 2, number 254, pigment PB15.1, PBK7, PV19. Okay, so that is the top line. It looks incredible. I just love it so much. Let's crack on with the second line. So here we've got pinks. Again, like for me, yellow, green and pink always have to be in a palette. I just don't seem to be able to get by without them. This is an ultramarine pink, series 2, number 215, pigment PR259. Look at that. Next up is this beautiful lilac. Look at that. And it looks so nice with the ultramarine pink. It is series 3, number 313, pigment PR233, PV15, PV16. Wow, that just looks beautiful. It'll be interesting to see when I swatch them out how different they look to these swatch cards, because I'm sure I'm not going to get the perfection that we can see on the swatch cards. The next one is Potter's Pink, which is a nice delicate pink. In one of my previous videos, I swatched out the Kuretake Gansai Tambi paints, the Art Nouveau set, and the Potter's Pink I felt there was quite browny. So hopefully this will be a little less browny, but we'll see how it turns out. It's series 3, number 311, pigment PR233. And that Potter's Pink is the perfect lead up to my next colour, which is this. And I've a really lovely reddy brown. I'm particularly drawn to it because it calls itself Icelandic Red Earth. So I can imagine the volcanic lands of Iceland, and that, I've got to be honest, that was a big pull for me when I picked this colour. It's called itself Icelandic Red Earth, series 3, number 312, and Natural Earth is the pigment. Wow. Next up, I have this browny grey colour. It's Van Dyck Brown, series 1, number 125, pigment NBR8. Again, it's a really earthy colour. I didn't want to have a black, but I thought it would be perfect for a dark colour along with the Payne's grey. It would give me more of a warmer colour. And the final colour is another one I felt like I couldn't live without, even though it's a neutral. It's this lovely grey, Slate Gray, series 2, number 258, pigment PBK19. So there they are. That's the colour palette that I selected. I don't know how I managed to nail it down to those. There are so many variations that it's just almost impossible. I find it almost impossible to pick a colour palette. But this is what I went with, so we'll see what happens with this. I really love it because you could divide it into just have those top ones and have a nice greeny blue range, or these bottom ones and have more of a pinky browny. I haven't got a red in there, but too bad. I just felt it would give me lots of options, or at least it would be fun to experiment with a limited colour palette, which is something, as I said before, I find extremely difficult. So let's unwrap the box and then I'll put them in. So back to the box. The box in itself is a real gem. It comes with the palette wrapped up in this gorgeous Florentine marbled paper. I'm actually in Florence myself, so I see this around all the time, but it's really pretty. And very firm. Wow, that's really thick card. It's not going to squidge at all. And this lovely sticker on the box. Inside we've got some swatch cards, which is nice. I'm going to do a big splotchy splotch card myself, but I'll do a smaller one to go in the palette later. So that's the palette. There's no brush in it, so I'm going to have to go and find one to do the swatch with. I'll spare you the unwrapping of the individual, or will I? Maybe not. And the slate grey. They look so gorgeous just like that. I kind of feel like I want to keep them there to preserve them. But instead we're going to put them in the pack. So there we have it, the palette. It looks much better on the swatch cards because you can see all the colours much more clearly. Here they look quite dark. But let's see what happens when we swatch them out. My dog is really interested in these paints People say they smell like rosemary when they use them, which is perhaps why she's so intrigued by them. It says they're made by hand in Assisi. Our watercolours are crafted according to a traditional recipe of raw pigments, gum arabic, local honey, and rosemary essential oil. So that must explain the fascination. Also because she's sitting right on my lap as I make this video. Okay, are we done? Let's move on to the swatching. So I'm just going to drop a drop of water on them to start with. Right, let's go with this antique gold. I'm so curious to see what this comes out like. I've been kind of previously disappointed with metallic paints, so. Nice. Seems quite transparent. So it's definitely much more goldy than yellow, but I'm liking it. Looks like it's got some nice granulation going on there. So that should be good. Let's move on to this was the Victoria green. Very transparent. So yeah, that's very transparent. I'll come back later when it's all dried and put a second layer on top and see how it goes. The next one is the Malachite. This is the one I just loved. I've got to move it over. Oh wow. Happy with that. Yeah, much stronger than the Victoria green. That is gorgeous. This cold pressed paper, this is one by Winsor & Newton, 300 grams. But it's got too much of a regular pattern. I don't really enjoy the paper itself. Cold pressed paper I like, but when it's got more of an irregular pattern. But I had this sheet, so I thought I'd just use it up because I can't see myself using it for anything that's not really swatching. Next up is the copper blue. Wow, that is just beautiful. Really delicate. Lovely. I'm liking those four together so far. This is the Tourmaline. So it's a grey, but with hints of green in my eyes. On the paper it seems very much a grey. Beautiful. It's definitely more towards, yeah, it's more like it's not an obvious kind of greeny grey, but I can definitely see more of a feel of green than red, so it's definitely a cooler grey. Love the way it's collecting in all these pockets on the paper. And next, the Payne's grey. So this is definitely a grey, but on the blue side. Whoa, look at that. It's amazing. Oh my goodness, the coverage and the depth of that compared to the Victoria green is quite something. That is stunning. I just want to pick up a piece of that and just... Wow. So that's an interesting row. Let me see if I can just raise the camera so you can get them all in. That is very interesting. So we've got the gold, where I was expecting more yellow, but that's fine. I mean, it does call itself antique gold, so it was to be expected. The Victoria green, which is very, very, very pale, so that will be perfect for washes in the background. And then we've got this lovely malachite, which, yeah, the two of these together just really float my boat. And then this gorgeous grey, which will be amazing for elephants, which is exactly what I was wanting, something for elephants. I was thinking of the slate grey, but that one's going to be wonderful as well. And then this is just beautiful. And then I was thinking I could use that to mix it with some of the other greens to make a different colour, so we can try that a bit later on. Let's go on to the second row and see what happens to the pinks. I'm pretty excited about these. So the first one was the ultramarine pink. Here in the palette it looks quite purple. Let's see what happens when I put it down. Gorgeous. It looks like it does. A bit pinker than it does in the palette, but yeah, that is gorgeous. I'm just putting in some water there, see if I can create some interesting blooms. I'm an expert at creating blooms anyway, just even by not doing anything. So I'm not sure why I felt the need to put water in to make them. They should have just happened by themselves, but it will be fun to see. So the next one is the Lilac. Oh wow, yeah, perfect, gorgeous colour. Next up is Potter's Pink. That is a much more happy Potter's Pink for me than the one in the Kuretake Gansai Tanbai set. It's more pink. Yeah, that's much more to my liking. I'm loving these blooms. I'm going to do it here as well. See what happens. Okay, Icelandic Red. I'm imagining they went out to collect it on the slopes of the volcanoes. So here we go. I can already see these gritty bits of pigment particles in there. Loving that. It almost does feel like you're painting with the earth, because you've just got these bits of granulation that you can mix around and you can see moving as you move your paintbrush. So that is super fun. Next one is the Dyck Brown. Wow, spectacular. I love how this depth and richness of colour, and then again it's got that gritty granulation feeling. That's beautiful. And the last one is the Slate Gray. I'm super excited about this one. I really love greys and neutral colours. Wow, that's very transparent, but very beautiful. Let's see what happens when I put some water in here. I imagine we won't get such effects as we did over here because it's just paler, so you won't see them so much. But so that is the palette. My dog is sitting on my lap as I do this swatching video, and now she's having a quick sniff at all the paints. I personally can't smell any rosemary as I painted them out, which some people say that they do when they use these Gallo paints, but that has not been my experience so far, but that doesn't mean that I won't further on. I just want to go back in with this Victoria Green and see what a second layer of that is like, because it was very, very translucent. So let's see. It still is. This is the swatch card, so I'm achieving more like the very end right now, so I guess I need to dig deeper and really get some of that pigment on the brush. So that really is very pale. I guess if I were to pile it on, maybe I would be able to get this kind of green. I'll keep trying. I'll put another layer on again when it's dry. But for now, I wanted to try and mix it with the Payne's Grey and see what happens, because that was something I was curious about as I selected these colours. So let's just put a bit of it on the mixing palette here. And then a teeny tiny bit of Payne's Grey, because that was very strong. It feels like it's even too much. Let's mix that in. Yeah, it's completely dominated by the Payne's Grey. But let's see what happens. Oh, nice. I feel like I can really feel the honey. It's almost got a kind of sticky texture to it. That is gorgeous. That is just beautiful. That would make a really lovely muted tone for my patterns. I'm not really a painter. I'm a surface pattern designer, so I don't use paint in the way that a lot of people would to actually paint things. I use it more to colour in areas and blocks. And the way that my brain works is very much in a screen printing way. Kind of when I'm thinking about composing something, I'm always thinking about each colour on its own separate layer and one going over the other, and that kind of way I think very much like a screen print. As I go along in my YouTube videos, I'll bring you more into my process of my pattern creating and how I go about doing that. Let's try mixing, I'm curious about mixing the gold and the tourmaline. Let's see what happens. Sparkly with granulation. Put it over there. And then over to the tourmaline. Make a kind of sparkly grey. Oh wow. I can see myself using these on a wallpaper, which would be really delicate and that could go anywhere because it would be unobtrusive. Now I'm curious about using the gold with the copper blue. It should make a kind of greeny, sparkly pale green. Let's see. Yeah. Wow. So this could be a really beautiful muted palette. So what other combination shall I try? I want to mix the Icelandic Red with the Ultramarine Pink. That's almost like a potter's pink. That's very close. Maybe that's, I wonder what the exact combination is to make the potter's pink, but that's not too far off. So I think I'm going to have fun with this palette. It's very muted, but I feel like I've really gone on the paler end of the swatching cards. So if you match them up, they pretty much, the lighter end matches the swatches that I've managed to come up with. Or that one actually has done better. That one, yeah, again, more on the lighter end. So I'll have to, this one, yeah, definitely managed to get that. But that was the only one that really gave me that strong colour. This one, the Van Dyck Brown, did a little bit as well. The Slate Gray I didn't do so bad, but I still could have got it stronger. The oh no, wait, that was the Van Dyck Brown. So yeah, that's much stronger. But again, I didn't do so bad. That one, definitely down this end. The Potter's Pink as well. Actually, no, somewhere in the middle there, so that was okay. The Lilac, again, I feel like I'm much more down here. And the Ultramarine Pink, definitely somewhere in the middle. So I haven't achieved the real strong colour yet. But I will persevere and do that. In a future video, I want to use this palette to make some elephant designs. So if you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification button, then you'll get notified when I put that one up. That's all for now, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye!